what's going on with Conor McGregor? So Conor McGregor was apparently supposed to be fighting Michael Chandler at the UFC 300 event. Now, I'm going to go through a whole different bunch of reasons why that isn't going to happen, and that probably was never going to happen. It was probably in the works, they were probably speaking about it, but I'm going to tell you why it isn't happening now. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about Coach Kavanagh, that's Conor McGregor's coach, on the Ariel Helwani show and certain things that he said. So we'll talk about Coach Kavanagh first. So Kavanagh dropped a lot of bombshells in regards to Conor McGregor. He says, look, McGregor's mental health, I was a little bit worried about him. Ariel sort of reciprocated to say, look, I remember him during the pandemic. He says, look, I just want to fight. I just want to fight. And, Coach Kavanagh said, look, that was something that I was actually worried about because I didn't know how this guy's head was going to hold up. He just wanted to fight. He was like a caged animal, Ariel said, and then Coach Kavanagh agreed that that's basically how it was. And that the setback for UFC 300 sort of, he was a little bit worried on how Conor would take that. Now, you need to understand this. Conor McGregor, it was probably spoke about for him to go on the 300 show, but then the UFC, because their business, they went, well, hold on, what's the point of putting Conor McGregor on that show? That show's already going to be stacked. Now, whenever I say stacked, UFC 300, just like UFC 200 and UFC 100, is going to be absolutely stacked. This is a 1 in every 100 event card. So they're going to make sure that the prelims is going to be sort of like a fight night. That's how good that's going to be. The prelims could be a numbered card itself, but the actual main card is going to be absolutely fantastic. Trust me in that. There's going to be so many good fights in that card. If you don't believe me, check out what UFC 200 was like. They had everybody on that. It was just, I think it was like 2016 it was UFC 200, and I'll never forget that. It was absolutely brilliant. I think who headlined 200? I think it was Brock Lesnar headlined 200, and there was like Anderson Silva versus Cormier, and Cormier was supposed to be fighting John Jones, and that was like the third fight. There was like 4 title fights. That's what you're going to get for a 300 card. So if you're doing anything, make sure you clear your plans for UFC 300 because it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Now, that's the reason why they're not putting Conor McGregor on that show. And you're going to say, well, hold on. If that's the greatest show and Conor McGregor's the most popular fighter, why wouldn't you put him on that card? Because obviously the two go hand in hand, and you would be correct. But from a business standpoint, Conor McGregor alone will sell the same amount of pay-per-views as a UFC 300 event. So if you put Conor McGregor, just hypothetically speaking, you have Conor McGregor by himself, just one fight, that's it, no undercard. You're still going to get about 1.5 million pay-per-views out of that guy. That's just the type of star power Conor McGregor is. So the UFC will look at their business model, and you can't win every single time. You can't have a really good show every single time. You're going to bomb at some stage. It doesn't matter who you are. So they're going to say, well, hold on, out of every other event that we have needs to be really, really good. So if we have a UFC 296 and it's good, but it doesn't do too well, well, even if the next one doesn't do too well, when UFC 29 UFC 301 has to be absolutely fantastic. UFC 300 has to be fantastic. UFC 305 needs to be fantastic. That's the way they work. They need to have maybe 4 standout cards throughout that year, and they're happy with that. They will be happy with that. So it's actually counterproductive to get Conor McGregor on a UFC 300 card. It was never really going to happen. And this is the predicament Conor McGregor has actually found himself in, because he's a guy and he says, look, I want to fight. Ariel said it the other day, I think it was yesterday. Coach Kavanagh said it, look, this guy wants to fight. He's constantly saying, I want to fight. He had that bad leg break. It was terrible. Dustin Poirier, everything in between. But he wants to fight. You need to get him in there with Chandler. But the UFC, because they're business, they're thinking to themselves, well, what we can do here is, and it's very, very smart, we can have UFC 300, have UFC 300, and then round about July time, because July's massive for combat sports, especially UFC, we're going to have Conor fighting round about then, and that can be our UFC 300 is going to be a smash. Conor McGregor card's going to be a smash, and then another 4 or 5 months down the line, that card's going to be a smash too. They're going to be 3 great cards, or they're going to have 4 great cards in that year. That's the way they're seeing this. They're going to space it out, and then hopefully in between, you'll have fighters rising up through the ranks to become popular, and then they can go into the next year's bracket of really good cards. Like you've got Alex Pereira, one of the fastest growing MMA guys in the sport, if not the fastest. I think the guy's got like 11 fights or something, and he's, all of them have been title fights or really, really top of the range, high card fights. That's what you're talking about here. That's the type of people that the UFC is trying to bring in. But once you get to the level of Conor McGregor or like an Israel Adesanya or a champion, they're going to save you for certain events. They're not going to just try to push you willy-nilly into an event, because they need to sell that event to make money. Hence why they'll split it up. So you're going to have UFC 300, and then you'll have the Conor McGregor card a couple of months later. So if Conor McGregor's suffering from mental health issues and this guy's maybe wanting to fight and be more active, better think again, because the UFC will not want this guy fighting 3 times in a year. Even though you're thinking to yourself, well, hold on, they would like him to fight 3 times in a year because they make more money. Yes, but for longevity, they'd be thinking to themselves, well, if we have a fight card with Conor McGregor on it once every year for the next 3 years, that's good enough for them, because not only can he stay in the sport, but he can represent them in the UFC. He does more for the UFC near enough outside the octagon than he does inside the octagon. Just his selling power and him being in contract with the UFC means a lot to them. And Conor McGregor has took a contract with the UFC that has solidified him as the most highest paid MMA athlete on planet Earth, and probably will ever be, because there's people behind him, there's people looking the same money as him that aren't even on a quarter of what he's getting. I don't have the numbers to show to you right now, but I can tell you that what Conor McGregor's making is completely mind-boggling. So that's, crazy. It's crazy. But at the end of the day, the guy wants to fight. The guy is a fighter, and you need to get him in there, or you're not going to get the best of his abilities. Because at the end of the day, you're thinking to yourself, well, I want to make as much money out of this as possible. I'm not going to fire him on a UFC 300 card that's going to sell itself without him. But I do need to keep him active and have that healthy balance to make that money. But, the UFC is ruthless. The UFC is absolutely ruthless. Now, what we're going to talk about Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler. So, Conor McGregor, Hardy, I think Conor McGregor beats Michael Chandler when they actually do fight. So, when Conor McGregor fought Eddie Alvarez, that was the best Conor McGregor I've ever seen. Now, not just because Eddie Alvarez was a champion or whatnot. No, it was his fluidity of movement. It was his distance. It was his range. It was his awareness. It was his counter punching. It was his stance. And very, very important thing you need to understand here. So, Conor McGregor's stance has completely changed. After that Floyd Mayweather boxing match, and the Cowboy Cerrone fight, and even the Khabib fight, he started to do this thing where he came in very boxing stance heavy, and that can only get you so far in MMA. McGregor, whenever he fought Eddie Alvarez, he had like a wide stance. A lot of people criticize that stance, and they says, well, hold on, he's very heavy on the lead foot, which leaves you susceptible to inside leg kicks, outside leg kicks in general, which is true. That's where Eddie Alvarez was having that success. But what it allowed McGregor to do was actually carry a lot more torque in his punches. So, for instance, whenever you have the wide stance and a wrestler comes in for like a big overhand, say a big overhand right, misses, Conor McGregor had the more torque in his shot power, I believe, just my opinion, in that counter shot, than if he's standing with boxing stance. I'm seeing that now. He's not having success with the boxing stance in MMA, and I don't know why he's doing that. I don't know why there isn't somebody in the background saying, "Look, Conor, you need to get your act together, mate. There's boxing and then there's MMA. Let's get back into that wide karate stance. Use those front whipping kicks that sort of it's like a move that sort of makes boxers think twice about coming in, and they overextend on their punches, and it also takes their breath away. Those leg kicks, that great uh, takedown defense up against the cage with the legs spread, that great counter punching, baiting these wrestlers in, because Michael Chandler is a wrestler now. He's a more evolved wrestler, and he's a more evolved striker than probably the way I would say Michael Chandler is. He's the best wrestler that he has the best. He's a wrestler with the best striking. So he would probably have better striking than Eddie Alvarez, um, and anybody else that Connor's fought that comes into the category of wrestlers. He probably has the best striking, but the principle's still the same. You want to bait Michael Chandler into overextend to counter him. Night, night, sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite. McGregor isn't going to have success if he comes in with a boxing stance. And you have to understand too that McGregor now has a leg issue. He's saying all this shit that, oh yeah, I've got a titanium leg now. No, that's going to be a weak issue with him. He's going to want to completely take that out of the game, in my opinion. For me personally, back the wide stance, little whipping kicks, frustrating the wrestler, bait him in where they come in with an overhand right, or they try to take you down, and you just counter them with that heavy, heavy, heavy counter shot. Good takedown defense, and that's it. Basic stuff. That's the old Conor McGregor. The old Conor McGregor didn't do things that were unknown to people. He just done things that were known to people, but he done them better than everybody else. He is the classic anti-wrestler. Even in the Khabib fight, a lot of people says that, he got smashed, and he did, but he gave Khabib problems. I think he was the only guy to ever steal a round off Khabib. He took a round off Khabib, and that was never done before, up until then. So, Conor McGregor is a good fighter, but for him to be successful in this fight, he needs to get back to the old stance, the old way of doing things. When I say the old way of doing things, I'm saying the best way of doing things. And yeah, if if things aren't going your way, you can switch it up. If you want, maybe switch it back into boxing stance for a couple of seconds, just to throw off your opponent. But essentially, the baseline of what he is the whipping kicks, the counters, the great takedown defense, and that's it. And if he can do that, and if he can bait Michael Chandler in, he will be successful in that fight. Now, how does Michael Chandler win that fight? I actually think Michael Chandler's going to win this fight, because I don't think Conor McGregor's going to do any of those things that I've just said. I think McGregor's going to come in heavy boxing stance, and I think Michael Chandler is going to go in. They're going to stand and bang for the first round, because Michael Chandler realizes, look, this is Conor McGregor I'm fighting. I don't want to just take him to the ground. I want to give the fans something to enjoy. And after that, I think he's going to take Conor McGregor to the ground and absolutely smash his head in. If he doesn't smash his head in and gets the TKO, he might get the submission. And that's just my opinion. So that would be my prediction for the fight. Michael Chandler, either by TKO or submission. But if McGregor comes in here with the old stance, the old way of doing things, I would give him a better chance in that fight. I would say that McGregor probably has a higher chance at countering Chandler, because let's not take away what McGregor's good at. He is the best counter striker in MMA. The best. That man, when it comes to MMA, I've seen people punch at him and he just stands there like Floyd Mayweather in boxing. He just stands there. He doesn't react to them because he understands the distance really well because of the kicks, you see. The kicks download the data for the punches. And then they overextend, and then boom, bang, night night, sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. And that's who Conor McGregor is, and that's how he can win, and that's how Michael Chandler could win. But my official prediction is Michael Chandler by TKO or submission. But that's it, guys. That's what I have for you today. Remember, smash the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment, and tell me what you think. The only thing you have to do on this channel is like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I do not want your money. Do not give me your money. Just like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. That's it. And if you want, leave a comment in the comment section. Tell me your opinion. Your opinion matters to me. And no, I do lives every Thursday at 9 p.m. with serial killer expert Shawn Warner. Shawn Warner literally speaks to serial killers. The biggest serial killer he ever spoke to was BTK. Shawn profiles them and studies these guys for his own personal interest and for other reasons. And what he does is he comes onto my show and he talks about a different serial killer or a different weird topic every Thursday night at 9 p.m. This Thursday at 9 p.m. we're talking about Fritz Honka, the German he's a brutal German serial killer that you might not know about. And this is the type of information that Shawn Warner can bring to the table. He can tell you about certain serial killers that maybe aren't in the public eye or written down in books or in movies or in podcasts or whatnot. And he's going to come on and he's going to talk about this guy. And apparently Fritz Honka was an evil, evil man. If you want to tune into that, click the link into the description. That will take you straight over to my premiered live with Shawn. Set your reminder, smash the like button over there too, guys, and don't forget to share everything. Share this, share the premiered live, share the live that I'm doing with Shawn Warner. Just share, copy link the clipboard, make a little social media post, send to a friend on Facebook or WhatsApp Messenger. It really, really helps me out. Sharing is caring, spreading the word is good. That's it, guys. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, by the way, in the description also is all my social media links. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. Peace.